Moving on, Blizzard have responded to the Sanctum of Domination lag issues. This is really good, actually. So, I'll do the highlights that Dakor's got because I don't want to take all day in this one. But yeah,
Of course.
for the past several weeks, they've received and acted upon reports of lag, especially during Sylvanas. They've been working hard to understand and resolve the issues. But they overlooked telling us that.
Thanks.
They apologize for that oversight and will strive to do better in the future. Again, they're making those public utterances regarding communication that sound good. Hopefully, they continue to be good. I have to wonder, because, we didn't have this on our normal mode, Sylvanas, and I think we're only just on our heroic mode, Fate Scribe progress now. But during our normal mode, Fate Scribe, we had weird lag. That it was different to lag we'd felt before, especially, it led to me and Matt dealing with some of the rings, like as a two-piece, and them just not working and us losing, like, multiple times. We lost, like, a good 45 minutes of everyone in the raid's time to the mechanic just not working, seemingly because of lag. I have to wonder if it's similar.
Yeah. Sometimes it didn't work for us. Sometimes the ground texture around the rings and the ground model didn't load for other people, so they couldn't see any of it. So it is, I think, the whole raid's just buggy, really.
Yeah. So they've said the most common complaint is a burst of lag when Sylvanas is first engaged. They found the cause to be higher than usual numbers of calculations being done at the start of the fight to facilitate the complex mechanics of the encounter. God, I mean, those mechanics must be so complex. I haven't noticed them. But I guess it's just that Sylvanas, as much as she is a very simple, boring, and I think maybe the biggest letdown of and that's a lot, given that we were off the back of N'Zoth. There's Nathrus, who was awesome, but then N'Zoth before that. A pretty rubbish fight. But yeah, funny that's what it was. And hey, maybe this is Preach and his bag of dice again.
I mean, it has to be, but I think they might need to really, really look at how they design encounters.
N squared is the answer.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. If that's actually happening, where a fight that's relatively simple mechanically is still rolling so many dice, you know what I mean? Generating so many numbers, sending so many things all over the place. It screams to me like it was made, I don't want to say like in a rush, like it was rushed out or anything, but I definitely feel like, the difference between you've made this bit of code, it works. You've spent 3 times as long to make this bit of code, it also works, but it also is significantly more efficient. So it feels like they're kind of going a little bit too quick with this. So I think they should maybe consider slowing down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because these problems, it doesn't matter how much of a banger your fight is. If a substantial amount of people are having problems with this, it's just an awful experience, and it's not worth it. Because nothing makes me hate. Because I mean, one of the reasons I like World of Warcraft so much is because combat feels good. Pressing buttons feels good. It's remarkably responsive. It's still like one of the best tab targeting games for how it feels to press buttons. And that's been getting worse over time. And I imagine this is similar. I remember entire, like, basically, I can't remember, was it 8.2, I think, or maybe 8.1? But there's a massive stretch of a patch where playing the game felt awful because there was massive added world lag. And I mean, the world boss in Desmotron, not very complicated, but sort of fun. Except I'm not going near it again because it's unplayable every time.
Shockingly,
yeah,
I did it last Wednesday, a few days ago, just before raid.
Yeah,
and while my frame rate was oddly low,
of course,
it actually didn't fall over. Now, its mechanics seemed like they were operating a bit slower than normal, so I'm not sure, but it worked better, so that was nice to see. So yeah, they say they're looking into ways they can potentially improve this, but they have to be careful not to change the design or the mechanics of the encounter, and that while this is something they think they can improve over time, there will still be a few seconds of server lag on pool for now. What we eventually discovered is that the Sylvanas fight in particular is very messaging heavy. The mechanics involved require sending many frequent updates to game clients, which itself isn't a problem. However, they discovered an unrelated change to how they organize and distribute server processes across server hardware, combined with accumulated changes over time to how our hardware server infrastructure is organized that resulted in our server processes being more concentrated across our hardware. Basically, load balancing issue. Seems like that a load balancing issue or something like that, where the resources they had were not being perfectly allocated, which then means that they're not as performant as they really on paper should have been. And for the final highlight quote then, with our most recent weekly maintenance, we've deployed several changes to how we distribute server processes across our infrastructure that should alleviate this potential source of lag. Please let us know about your experiences in Sanctum of Domination going forward, especially if you can capture video of any new misbehavior. So again, that's great. Especially, they say in the other lines there, this shit can be so hard to replicate in an internal testing environment. Yeah. I have to wonder if any of those changes have to do with that world boss not being a complete catastrophe for me most recently.
Well, I mean, obviously you can't say that for certain, but if last week it was shit, this week it's not shit, they changed stuff this week, what is it? If it quacks like a duck?
Yeah.
Quacks like a duck, must be a duck.